The Ukrainian army has conducted a successful counterattack in the Zaporizhzhia region. This is reported in a report by the American Institute for the Study of War. According to analysts, the defense forces have advanced or held positions in the western part of the Zaporizhzhia region, specifically in the Orikhiv direction. And although the Russian side claims the presence of its military in this area, American analysts have refuted this thanks to an examination of geolocated footage of the terrain. However, in the Kharkiv region, according to data from the analytical resource Deep State, the Russians have managed to advance near one of the settlements. We are talking about Pishchane in the Kupiansk district, while the hottest sectors of the front remain the Pokrovsk and Kostyantynivka directions. According to the General Staff, in each of these areas, the enemy stormed the positions of our defenders more than 20 times. In total, 222 combat engagements were recorded on the front line over the past day. In the Odessa region, the black box of the Ukrainian fighter jet that crashed in the Berezivka district on August 10th has been found. The aircraft's flight data recorder was discovered by State Bureau of Investigation employees. The device is damaged, but specialists are working on restoring it to retrieve information about the final minutes of the flight. As a reminder, the fighter jet was carrying out a combat mission to destroy enemy drones. During the operation, an emergency situation occurred. The plane caught fire and the pilot lost control. He managed to eject. The investigation is checking several probable causes of the plane crash. A criminal proceeding has been opened based on the violation of flight rules or aircraft operation. The final version is to be established only after analyzing all the data obtained. They did what the world thought was impossible. The Ukrainian Air Force broke the enemy's superiority in the sky and rewrote NATO military textbooks. Air defense forces shoot down up to 80% of cruise missiles and over 90% of Shahed drones attacking Ukrainian cities. Our anti-aircraft gunners neutralize enemy ballistics with just one interceptor missile instead of several, as required by standard procedures. Allies are stunned by the results of our pilots, one of whom destroyed 6 enemy targets in a single sortie on an F-16. At the same time, the war presents new challenges. The Russians are increasingly launching jet-powered Shaheds. Ballistic missiles attack regional centers almost every night, and there is simply nothing to shoot them down with because the Patriot launchers are empty. So what can be used to counter these threats? What domestic developments are already preparing a response to the occupier? And will Ukraine start its own production of missiles for Patriot systems? Watch this in a candid conversation between TSN correspondent Andriy Tsaplienko and the Air Force Command.
We must support the systems that we currently have available. And this is our primary task, to ensure they work effectively. The second is to create modularity without increasing the number of systems. This increases the number of operators, the amount of personnel. We know that our human resources are limited, so we are implementing modularity. We are increasing the number of launches and changing their specific configuration so that these launches can operate against unmanned aerial vehicles, cruise missiles, and ballistic targets. And our third direction is, of course, working on the development of Ukrainian anti-aircraft missile systems that could eventually replace foreign ones.
So, for the secrets of protecting the Ukrainian sky, tactical tricks, the future of Ukrainian aviation, and what exactly to use to shoot down ballistic missiles, watch the exclusive interview by TSN military correspondent Andriy Tsaplienko at 10:30 p.m. in the United News Marathon. In Russia, after a drone raid, the Ost-Luga port was on fire. This is in the Leningrad region. The local governor says that their air defense shot down over 50 of our drones, but it is likely that they were shot down directly over the port infrastructure. Ost-Luga is the largest Russian port on the Baltic Sea and the second largest in terms of cargo turnover in all of Russia. Another Wildberries warehouse near Tver was also damaged. The Galactica shopping center was also on fire. This is occupied Yena-Kyiv, Donetsk region, and this is the former epicenter which the occupiers seized from Ukrainian business. The night was also restless in Moscow. Local authorities reported 10 downed drones. The enemy did not sleep in temporarily occupied Sevastopol either. $100 million turned to ash because AFU drones destroyed an extremely expensive Russian Nebo-U radar station, which detected aerial targets, including missiles and aircraft, at long distances. Now the occupiers' blind spot in Crimea has become even blinder. Russia has rejected Turkey's proposal for a ceasefire in the Black Sea. The spokesperson for the enemy's foreign ministry considers it inappropriate for Moscow to return to the so-called Black Sea Initiative, which existed in the first years of the full-scale war but was ultimately derailed by Moscow. Zakharova also stated that the Russian side had not received any proposals from Ankara regarding the implementation of a moratorium on military actions in the sea at all. Meanwhile, her boss, Sergei Lavrov, even accused Turkey, as well as the United States, of failing to react to Ukrainian attacks in the Black Sea. And Lavrov's statements did not stop there. He emphasized that Russia is not considering the possibility of ending the war in Ukraine along the current front line, because, as he claims, this could devalue the heroic deeds of grandfathers and great-grandfathers.
Dear Ukrainian men, dear Ukrainian women, today there were many questions, and specifically military questions. The report from the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Drapati, defined the steps and means to strengthen the directions of Sloviansk and Kostyantynivka. I want to thank all our units that are destroying the occupier, countering Russian assaults and Russian infiltration. I am counting on there being no fewer than 30,000 destroyed occupiers now in August. We spoke today with Minister of Defense Kamara about our need for drones for the technological component. We discussed in detail with him and at the staff meeting the issue of finances for the army. We need to fill the deficit as much as possible, The volume is serious. In the first half of the year, there were significantly more expenses. It is a new challenge now to find the necessary finances, additional finances. We will talk with our partners. I also count on the government of Ukraine, together with parliamentarians, to work in such a way that Ukraine receives the necessary funds. The technological level of our army, of our defense operations, must continue to grow. And that is the only way. Thanks to all the decisions since last autumn, political decisions, financial decisions, the technological choices we made a year ago, we were able to move to a significantly more technological defense during the winter and spring of this year. The long-range sanctions plan is being implemented, and more of our mid-strike as well. In fact, we have worked to block the Russian south and are expanding this strategic operation. We are expanding it quite justly in response to Russian strikes on our ports, on our cities. And every level of pressure on Russia must lead this country, their society above all, to the desire to end their war. Our sanctions against Russian oil refineries, their Russian oil sector facilities, our mid-range strikes on Russian military logistics, our operation in the waters of the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov, all of this works to limit Russia's war potential. It is important to continue this also with more active political and legal actions. Today, there is a Ukrainian sanctions package against companies and vessels that transport grain and other goods stolen from the temporarily occupied territory of Ukraine. We are preparing new sanctions packages against the Russian military industry, against financial chains and intermediaries. Unfortunately, a significant number of Russian enterprises working for the war are still not under global sanctions, and this must be corrected during August and September. We will be talking with leaders at all working levels. A direct task for Ukrainian diplomacy in significant jurisdictions of the world is that those companies and individuals from Russia, those individuals who help Russia, whose influence really matters in terms of prolonging this war and the production of Russian missiles and drones, must be under sanctions. And one more thing. We are continuing our work for air defense for Ukraine, for the missiles needed to protect lives, and for agreements to facilitate production within Ukraine. All of this will happen. It is not easy, but all of this will happen. During the war, we have spoken many times about weapons, resources, and equipment that we were initially told were supposedly impossible to get. And then we heard that Ukrainians supposedly wouldn't be able to handle it because it would take decades to be able to. F-16S, the production of millions of drones per year, special missile technologies. And we managed to do it. It will be the same with anti-ballistic defense. It will be the same with Patriots in Ukraine, but every delay, which unfortunately exists at the political level, simply costs lives. It is important to be fast, to have all forces directed at protecting life and limiting Russia's resources for the war. The aggressor must feel that the world exists and that the world is truly acting to end the war rather than just watching the war continue. I thank everyone who is truly helping us, helping Ukraine. I thank everyone who is defending us, who is defending Ukraine. Glory to Ukraine.